Hi friends, today let us discuss about free torsional vibrations. Till now we have been looking into mechanical vibrations topic with examples and topic related to translatory motion. That means you have mass is connected with a spring, sometimes a damper may be connected. Now due to natural vibration the system will be vibrating and the motions happening will be all translating motion. Now, apart from natural vibration, we have discussed about forced vibrations also. Now, keeping aside all the translational criteria of motion, let us now delve into torsional vibrations. Now, in the case of torsional vibrations, we will always have rotatory motion. See this example. A shaft which is fixed to a roof, and at one end of the shaft a disc is connected. Now, when we move from the translational kind of motion to rotatory kind of motion, certain equivalent components has to be taken. Now, let L be the length of the shaft. Now, when we consider the disc, and if we give a twisting rotation either to this side or to this side, now that is the case when torques will be acting on the system. Hence, this condition becomes the case of torsional vibrations. Now here, the equivalent of mass m that we have considered in translatory cases becomes I. What is I? I is moment of inertia or mass moment of inertia of this disc. And we have considered K as the stiffness of spring which is connected to the mass in the translatory case. Now, in place of K, we are going to consider Q. Now, what is Q? Q is the torsional stiffness of shaft. Torsional stiffness of this shaft. Q can be calculated using this equation G into J divided by L, where G is the modulus of rigidity of this shaft material, J is the polar moment of inertia, and L is the length of the shaft. Now, when we consider this system, as we have been doing in the case of translatory conditions, as we have been writing down the governing equations in translatory motion, let us take the system to be in equilibrium. Now, at equilibrium, the sum of all the forces, in the case of torsional case, all the couples, the sum of all the couples acting in the system will be equal to 0. Now, what are the couples acting or the torsional forces acting in this system? First one is inertia force. Inertia couple or torque. Now, what is inertia couple here? I into x double dot. Now, I into x double dot was the case for translatory equation. Now, here, as we have theta as the angular displacement, we have to write down I into theta double dot. This is inertia torque. What is I? I is the moment of inertia of the disc. Now, as the disc is attached to the shaft is having a torsional stiffness, so definitely the stiffness component will induce a restoring force which tries to restrict this kind of inertia. So, the restoring couple or torque acting in such a torsional system will be written as Q into theta. In the translatory case, we have written this one as mx double dot and this was kx. In place of k, we are substituting q, which is the torsional stiffness. In place of m, we have I. And x was the linear displacement in case of translation system. Now it is replaced by theta, which is the angular displacement here. Hence, if we combine this thing as the equation at equilibrium, we can write Ix double dot plus Q, in place of x we have to write, once again, I theta double dot plus Q theta should be equal to 0. This can be written as theta double dot plus Q by I into theta equal to 0. Comparing this equation with the translatory case in which we had x double dot plus k by m into x equal to 0, this was the case for translatory case, we can directly write the value of natural frequency omega n as root of q by I radians per second. Comparing this one with this one. Omega n, which is the natural frequency, as q by I radians per second. This natural frequency can be written in hertz as 1 by 2 pi square root of q by I. Now, in case of translation, we have obtained natural frequency as root of k by m. In place of k by m, now we have q by I. This much hertz. So, this was the case of free torsional vibrations of a single degree of freedom system. This was the case of single degree of freedom system. See, only 1 degrees of freedom, because the total system can be explained by taking into account this angular displacement theta alone, because we have a shaft and a single disc is attached to this shaft. So this is the case, this can be considered as a case of 1 degrees of freedom system. Now, if we consider the shaft is having a moment of inertia I1, okay, in the case of springs, in the case of translation system, we have considered the case of spring having a mass m1. Similarly, if now we consider this shaft is having a moment of inertia I1, then this natural frequency equation slightly changes to root of q divided by I plus I1 by 3. That means we have to take 1 by 3rd of this mass into account while calculating the natural frequency. Now, how is this change occurring? Only when we consider the effect of mass of this restoring element. Here the shaft is the restoring element, and if the shaft is having a mass I1, and if we take that particular moment of inertia I1 into consideration, then the natural frequency of vibration slightly changes to this value. That means 1 by 3rd value or magnitude of this moment of inertia has to be taken into account while calculating the natural frequency. Now, let us look into one more scenario. Now, here a shaft is connected to 2 sets of bearings, and on the shaft 2 rotating discs are attached. Both the discs will have its own rotating motion. Now, again here also we have to consider the set for torsional vibrations, but now the system has been changed to a multi-degrees of freedom system, because you have 2 discs rotating on a shaft, and both the discs are having 2 sets of different angular displacements, theta 1 and theta 2. Now let q be the torsional stiffness of the shaft, and let I1 be the moment of inertia of disc 1 and I2 be the moment of inertia of disc 2. So the system has been changed to 2 degrees of freedom system, because you have 2 sets of angular displacements. Now when we write the equation for motion of this system, or the governing equation, by considering mass 1 separately and mass 2, that means moment of inertia of disc 1 separately and disc 2 separately, let us look into how we can write the sets of equation. Now first one, it will be having inertia torque, so it can be written as I1 theta 1 double dot, I1 theta 1 double dot, plus, now you have the shaft, and shaft is having a torsional stiffness, so it will be q into, it is connected to both the discs, so we have to write theta 1 minus theta 2 should be equal to, as there is no external excitation, as this is free vibration case, this can be equal to 0. Now this is for mass 1. Now for mass 2, let us write the equation once again. For considering mass 2, it will be I2 theta 2 double dot, which is the inertia torque, plus, now considering q, it is connected to both first and second discs. When we write it for the case of second disc, it will be q into theta 2 minus theta 1, that will be equal to 0. Now let us slightly rearrange the first equation. You have I1 theta 1 double dot, plus, if we expand this one, you have q theta 1 minus q theta 2 equal to 0, which will be equation number 1, And if you expand this one, I2 theta 2 double dot plus q theta 2 minus q theta 1 equal to 0. Let it be equation number 2. Now, always keep in mind these two equations, which are the governing equation for this torsional vibrating multi-degrees of freedom system. Now, let us assume values for theta. Let theta 1 be equal to a1 sine omega t. If you take sine omega t plus phi, then also it's same. No changes there. If theta 1 is this one, theta 1 double dot will be what? Minus a1. You are differentiating it 2 times with respect to t. Omega square sine omega t. Similarly, let theta 2 be equal to a2 sine omega t. Then theta 2 double dot will be what? Minus a2 omega square sine omega t. If we substitute all these values in equations 1 and 2, what will we obtain? See, if we substitute this one, the term sine omega t will be common in every set of values. So, all the sine omega t's can be common out and cancelled. Remaining values only will stay with the equation. So, let us substitute these values in equation 1 and equation 2. Substituting these one in first equation, first term will become what? Theta 1 dot, we have this value. So, this will be minus of I1 A1 omega 1 square plus, second you have q into theta 1. What is theta 1? This is sine omega t will cancel. So, you don't have to write that one by substituting. Theta 1 will be q into A1 minus what? Again you have q into theta 2. That means q into, what is theta 2? This one, A2 equal to 0. Let it be equation number 3. Sorry. We'll number it afterwards. Now, substituting these values in equation number 2, you have I2 theta 2 double dot. What is theta 2 double dot? This one. So, this will become minus I2 A2 omega square plus q into theta 2. What is theta 2? This one. Q A2 minus q into theta 1. What is theta 1? Q into theta 1. A1 equal to 0. Okay, pause the videos and write down these equations. Now, let us consider only the newly written equations. Let us slightly rewrite this equation in terms of A1 and A2. Now, taking A1 common from this one, what we will obtain? We have I1 minus I1 omega 1 square plus q multiplied by A1. This is equal to minus q A2 equal to 0. Let it be equation number 3. Next, rewriting this set of equation, you have minus q A1, let us find the terms of A1 first, plus minus I2 omega square plus q multiplied by A2 equal to 0. Question number 4. We have only omega here, no omega 1. So, now we have two sets of new equations. Now, let us transform these equations into matrix form and then let us find out the determinant. That means the determinant of this matrix will be the coefficient values of A1 and A2 separately. That means we can write it like this: minus I1 omega square plus q. This term is minus q. What will be here? This will be minus q, and here it will be minus I2 omega square plus q. Let us find the determinant and equate it to 0. See, this is the term of A1 and A2. Now this is the term of A1 in second equation, and this is the term of A2 in second equation. Now, while finding the determinant, this will be minus I1 omega square plus q multiplied by minus I2 omega square plus q square. Sorry, minus q square equal to 0. If we expand this one, this will be omega raised to 4 I1 I2 multiplied by this term, first term into this term, next same first term into this term. This will be minus I1 q omega square. Now second term of this one into first term, this will be minus I2 q omega square. Now last term plus q square. Remaining this term minus q square equal to 0. Let us slightly rearrange this equation. This becomes omega raised to 4 I1 I2 minus I1 q omega square minus I2 q omega square, I2 q omega square. This will be 0, equal to 0. Now let us take omega square common. Remaining will be omega square into I1 I2 minus, from these terms this will be I1 q minus I2 q equal to 0. Now you can take q common and rewrite this one. What will be this one? This will be omega square I1 I2 minus of what? What will be this one? I1 plus I2 into q. If we expand this one, this will be minus I1q, this will be minus I2q equal to 0. Again we have reached at an homogeneous equation with two sets of terms. That means from here to solve this one, either see this term multiplied by this term equal to 0. So for this equation to be satisfied, either omega square must be equal to 0 or the second term, second collective term, that means omega square I1 I2 minus I1 plus I2 into q should be equal to 0. Now if omega square equal to 0, you will obtain omega equal to 0. This is the first set of solution here. So let us write down in place of omega, let it be omega 1, which will represent first mode of vibration, the natural frequency for first mode. And from here we can find out omega square equal to what? I1 plus I2, this will go to this place, omega square will be equal to 2 into q divided by I1 I2. Hence omega will be equal to square root of I1 plus I2 multiplied by q divided by I1 I2. Now as we have obtained first root as omega 1 equal to 0, let this value be omega 2. So this will represent second mode. This will represent second mode. Now these two values are very much important because this represents the natural frequency of vibration of first mode of vibration, and now this one represent the natural frequency of vibration for the second mode. Both are values in radians per second. Now we previously had equation number 3 as this one. While we were deriving, while we were solving, we had an equation number 3 in terms of A1 and A2, and we had an equation number 4 in terms of A1 and A2. Now if you consider the ratio of A1 by A2 from equation 3, okay, you will have, see, if you bring the term A2 here, A1 by A2 will be q divided by minus omega square I1 plus q. And if we give the value of omega 1, that means the natural frequency for the first mode of vibration in this ratio, what will be the term that we obtain? We obtain the term as 1, because this will be q divided by this term, and here we give the value of omega 1 equal to 0, this will be 0, so ultimately it will be q by q, it will be 1. Now what does this suggest? This suggests both the amplitudes are having same value as well as they are in phase with each other. Now similarly, if we take the ratio of A1 by A2 from equation number 4, we will obtain what? A1 by A2 will be this term divided by this term. This term divided by this term. So, and when we substitute the second natural frequency, that means the natural frequency for the second mode in this equation, this value in this equation, we will obtain minus I2 divided by I1. This is the value that we are going to obtain. See, you have to clearly substitute this one here. That means in place of omega, you have to substitute this root of this value. Sorry, this already omega square is there. So, excluding the radical, you have to substitute this value here and you have to try it out. You have to write it down and you will obtain this value. Now, what we have obtained, this is the value for ratio of amplitudes for first mode of vibration. Because we have given the value of omega 1 here. Now, this is the value of ratio of amplitudes for second mode of vibration. Because we have given the value of omega 2 here. Now, we can represent these values graphically as, see, for the first one, we have obtained A1 by A2 is equal to 1. That means this can be represented as, see, if for the first mode of vibration, if we have, let this represent the length of shaft. That means we can slightly change the figure that we have drawn initially. Let this be a shaft which is fixed along two bearings, and we are having a set of rotor here, a rotating body, and another set of rotor here. Okay, this is slightly changed figure with respect to the initial figure that we have drawn. A shaft with two discs attached. Now this is a system with two rotors at the ends of a shaft. Now let the length of the shaft be L. Now if we draw this one graphically, this is length L. And for the first mode of vibration, we have obtained the ratio of amplitudes as A1 by A2 equal to 1. That means A1 is also having the same value, A2 is also having the same value, and both are having positive values. That means you will get the graph somewhat like this. This is the area within the graph. The length will be L. Now, in the case of second mode of vibration, what we have obtained, let this be total length L. We have obtained the ratio of amplitudes as minus I2 by minus I1. That means the value of A1 will be opposite to that of the value of A2. And the value of A2 will be like this. That means while the vibration is occurring, you will arrive at a point where the deflection or the amplitude will be minimum or the amplitude will be 0. This position is known as node. This position is known as node. Now, up to this one, the shaft length can be considered as L1, and up to this one, let the length of shaft be L2. So, for the second mode of vibration, that means this is for the second mode of vibration where omega n was equal to the value of omega 2, root of that particular value, and for this one it was for first mode of vibration. Here omega n was equal to the value of omega 1. So this is a simple representation of what the ratio of amplitudes has been given with respect to a system or torsionally vibrating system which is having multi degrees of freedom. So please go through the video once again. Try to understand the concept with clarity. Thank you.